The sun was setting over the horizon, painting the sky with warm hues of orange and pink. The lush garden was bathed in a romantic glow as soft laughter filled the air. It was the perfect summer evening, and I could feel the anticipation building in my chest as I made my way to the restaurant. My husband, Jimin, was already waiting for me at the table. He leaned in and whispered something sweet in my ear that made my heart skip a beat. His mother joined us. Jimin took my hand in his, my knuckles, softly. "You look beautiful tonight," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. I smiled up at him. Just then, a voice cut through the romantic atmosphere like a, "Oh, Jimin," his mother said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "You really know how to pick them, don't you?" I felt my cheeks flush with anger and embarrassment as she fixed her steely gaze on me. "She's not even pretty enough to be your trophy wife," she continued, her words stinging like a in the face. I could feel Jimin tense beside me, his hand clenching into a fist at his side. "Mother," he began, his voice low but firm. "That's enough." But his mother seemed to ignore him, too consumed by her own hatred to care about his discomfort. "Oh, don't worry, dear," she went on. "I'm sure she'll learn her place soon enough." The other guests, sensing the tension in the air, began to shift uncomfortably in their seats. I could feel Jimin's hand slide into mine, giving it a reassuring squeeze. He leaned over and whispered, "It's okay," before my knuckles, softly, but the hurt in his eyes told me that everything was far from all right. As if on cue, his mother turned her attention back to her son. "You should be spending more time on your work, Jimin," she sniffed. "You're not as young as you used to be. You can't afford to waste your time on these foolish distractions. You should focus on making your father proud." Jimin's jaw clenched at his mother's words, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he squeezed my hand even harder. I knew he was trying to tell me not to take it personally, but I couldn't help but feel the sting of every comment she made. The rest of the dinner passed in an awkward silence, with his mother's icy glare fixed on me the entire time. As the waitstaff cleared away the dishes, Jimin excused himself to go speak with his father, leaving me alone with my mother-in-law. I steeled myself for whatever insults she might have waiting for me. "So, Ryan," she said, her tone still sharp but now laced with a hint of, "What do you do for a living?" It was a simple question, but the way she asked, it made me feel like she was trying to dig for some sort of weakness, some flaw in my character that she could use against me. I took a deep breath and forced myself to smile. "I'm a teacher," I replied, keeping my voice steady. I teach English at a local high school. His mother raised an eyebrow. Oh, she said, sounding unimpressed. And what made you choose that profession? Her eyes bored into mine, searching for some hidden meaning in my words. I felt my resolve begin to waver, but I forced myself not to let her get to me. I've always loved working with young people, I said, my voice steady. And I think it's important to help them find their passion and pursue their dreams. Even as the words left my lips, I couldn't help but wonder if Jimin's mother would ever be able to understand that. His mother pursed her lips. She said, clearly unconvinced. Well, I hope you're not planning on staying with us for long. Jimin has a busy life, and I'm sure you'll want to get back to your own. Her words were like a in the face, but I refused to let her see the hurt in my eyes. Just then, the waitstaff brought out dessert, offering us each a small plate of chocolate truffles. As I accepted one, I glanced over at Jimin, who was deep in conversation with his father. He looked tired, but determined. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt for the tension I'd caused between them. His mother seemed to notice my gaze and followed it over to Jimin. Your husband is a very successful man, Mayan, she said, her voice cool. He deserves better than someone like you, who can't even hold down a good job. Her words stung, but I forced myself to remain calm. I'm sorry you feel that way, I replied, my voice steady. But Jimin and I are very happy together. We support each other, no matter what we choose to do with our lives. As I spoke, I couldn't help but wonder if she would ever come to accept us, or if this would always be the dynamic between us. As the rest of the dinner progressed, the conversation flowed more easily, thanks in part to the drinks being poured. But his mother's icy glare never left my side, and I knew that she would never truly approve of me. I tried my best to ignore her, focusing instead on Jimin and enjoying the time we had together. After all, that was all that truly mattered. Eventually, the check arrived, and Jimin insisted on paying. His mother, of course, made a snide comment about his extravagance, but Jimin merely shrugged it off. He thanked his parents for the meal and then turned to me, offering his arm. Shall we? He asked with a smile. Outside, the air was cool and crisp, and the lights of the city twinkled like stars in the distance. As we walked arm in arm, I couldn't help but feel a sense of peace wash over me. Despite everything that had happened, I knew that I was where I belonged, by Jimin's side. I'm sorry about my mother, Jimin said quietly, breaking the silence. She can be a bit difficult at times. It's okay, I replied, squeezing his hand. She's just protective of you, that's all. He gave me a small smile. I know, but it doesn't change the fact that she can be Sometimes I wish she could see that you're not the enemy, that you're not trying to take anything away from me. I understand, I said. But maybe someday she'll come around. In the meantime, we'll just have to focus on our own happiness, won't we? He nodded, and we continued walking, lost in our own thoughts. Eventually, we reached his car. He unlocked the car and opened the door for me, helping me inside. As he rounded the car, I couldn't help but admire the way he moved, the strength and grace that seemed to emanate from him. He got in beside me and started the engine. "So," he said, looking over at me, "where to next?" I leaned closer to him, my heart racing with anticipation. "Wherever you want to go, Jimin," I whispered. "I'm yours for the night." His eyes darkened, and a slow smile spread across his face. "In that case, Vian," he said, reaching out to take my hand, "I think there's only one place we should go." And with that, he put the car in gear and pulled away from the curb, taking us on a new adventure. As we drove, the city seemed to stretch out before us like a canvas painted with a million different hues. Jimin expertly navigated the streets, weaving in and out of traffic with ease. The car itself was a work of art, sleek and powerful, and it seemed to respond to his every touch. "Where are we going?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, feeling a thrill of anticipation run through me. He glanced over at me, a mischievous grin playing at the corners of his lips. "To the top of the world," he replied, before turning his attention back to the road. The car climbed higher and higher, the air growing cooler and crisper with each turn of the wheel. Eventually, we reached the very peak of the city, where the sky met the horizon in a breathtaking display of color. Jimin pulled over to the side of the road, parking the car beneath a massive tree that seemed to reach up toward the heavens itself. He turned off the engine, but left the headlights on, casting a warm glow across the landscape. "Come here," he said, petting his. For a long moment, we there, catching our breath, the words spinning around us. Then, with a sigh, Jimin pulled me closer. "That," he murmured, "was perfect." I smiled. I couldn't help but feel a newfound sense of peace, of contentment. For tonight, at least everything was exactly as it should be. I belonged to Jimin, and he belonged to me. And together, we could conquer the world. Because